Let's talk about discipline. Yeah, that word. For parents of preschoolers, it can bring up a lot of feelings, maybe even a little stress, right? But what if we could look at it differently? Not as a battle we have to win, but as one of the most important things we get to teach our kids. Let's dive into a fresh, really positive way to think about discipline.
No, really, just for a second. What's the very first thing that pops into your head? For a lot of us, it's probably words like punishment or control or rules. And look, if that's you, that's totally normal. It's based on how many of us were brought up. But when we're talking about preschoolers, that's not the whole story. Not even close.
And this right here, this is the huge mindset shift we're talking about. We're moving away from this old idea of punishment and control and toward what our little kids actually need from us, which is teaching and guidance. It's less about correcting every little mistake and way more about building good skills they can use for the rest of their lives.
All right, so first things first. Let's get on the same page about what discipline even means when we're talking about a 3 or 4-year-old, because it's probably not what you think.
See? This completely flips the script. Discipline isn't about being the boss and making them do what we say. It's about being their teacher. We're teaching them these huge, crucial life skills, how to regulate themselves, how to understand routines, how to take a little bit of responsibility, and how to show respect. These are the building blocks for a happy, successful life.
And we've got to remember who we're dealing with here. A preschooler's brain is like a construction zone in a hurricane. They are literally just figuring out how to handle these gigantic feelings in their tiny bodies. They're learning how to wait for something when they want it right now. They're learning to use their words instead of just grabbing or melting down. So expecting them to be perfect, that's just not realistic. It's not even the goal.
So our game plan, our whole approach, has to be built on these 3 things. Guidance, gently showing them the right way. Repetition, and I mean, we're going to be repeating ourselves a lot. And a deep, deep well of patience.
Okay, so how do we actually do this? Where do we start? Well, before we can teach any of these big skills, we have to create an environment where our kids feel safe and secure enough to learn. It all starts with the foundation.
You know, for a little kid, predictability is everything. It's like a safety blanket for their brain. When their world makes sense, when they have a good idea of what's coming next in their day, they feel secure. And a kid who feels secure is a kid who is so much more calm and cooperative.
And the good news is creating this feeling doesn't have to be super complicated. It's all about simple, consistent routines. Having meals, playtime, and bedtime around the same time each day helps a ton. Maybe a little picture chart for getting ready in the morning. And this is a big one, giving those gentle warnings before you switch activities. That 5-minute heads up, oh, it's a lifesaver. It can prevent so many meltdowns. Okay, the other half of this solid foundation, it's boundaries. You know, a lot of people think kids hate rules. But honestly, clear, consistent boundaries are like the walls of their house. They don't feel restricting. They feel safe. They show a child exactly where the limits are so they can explore freely inside them.
And this is a perfect example. The best rules are simple, there aren't too many of them, and you stick to them every single time. You don't need a 3-ring binder full of house rules. Just a few core expectations that you calmly enforce make a world of difference.
All right, so we've got our safe, predictable environment set up. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty. What are your most powerful, hands-on tools for teaching discipline day to day? Okay, this one is huge. This might be the most important thing to remember. You are your child's #1 role model. They learn so much more from watching you than from listening to you. How you handle your own frustration, how you talk to other people. They are soaking it all in. Modeling self-discipline is your superpower. So when things go sideways, and trust me, they will, we've got a choice. We can punish, we can focus on the mistake, we can scold, or we can use positive guidance. We can acknowledge the effort, even if the result was a mess, and gently redirect them to a better choice. One way teaches fear, the other teaches them how to do better next time. Big difference, right? And on the flip side, positive reinforcement, it's like magic. You gotta catch them being good. When you see your child make a great choice, even a small one, point it out right then and there. Saying this right in the moment is so much more powerful than any lecture you could give later about making a mess. So what's the long game here? What are we really aiming for? The goal isn't just to raise a kid who follows our rules. It's to raise a kid who eventually doesn't need us looking over their shoulder because they've developed their own inner guide for making good choices. And here's the secret sauce. Self-discipline really grows from self-worth. When we treat our children with respect, when we help them feel capable and competent,
they naturally want to live up to that. They start to believe in themselves. And it can be so simple. Take this example. By offering a small, appropriate choice, you're building that feeling of capability. What you're really saying is, hey, I trust you. Your choice matters. That's a huge confidence booster, and it's a massive step toward them trusting their own judgment down the road.
And please, remember this. This whole thing is a marathon, not a sprint. You're going to have good days and bad days. Some of the skills they learn will seem to disappear when they're tired or stressed. The most important thing is to just stay the course. Your calm, consistent presence is a far better teacher than being super strict every once in a while.
All right, for our last section, let's zoom out a bit. Because this whole consistency thing, it's not just about what happens inside your house. It's about making sure your child's world feels consistent everywhere they go.
Everything we've talked about, it really comes down to these 4 things. And when everyone in a child's life, at home, at school, is working from this same playbook of love, structure, respect, and understanding, wow, that's when children can really truly flourish.
And let's not forget why we're doing all this. The payoff is huge. We aren't just trying to survive the toddler and preschool years. We are laying the groundwork for raising people who are in control of themselves, who are confident, and who are just fundamentally joyful. What an incredible goal.
Your child's teachers, their caregivers, they're all part of the team. But you're the MVP. You are the essential piece of this whole puzzle. The work you do at home, using these same ideas, is what makes all this learning stick.
So, I want to leave you with a little challenge. Don't feel like you have to overhaul everything overnight. That's way too overwhelming. Just think about this. What is one small, simple routine you could make just a little more consistent starting tomorrow? Maybe it's bedtime or saying goodbye in the morning. Because that one tiny step, that's how you start building a foundation that'll support them for the rest of their lives.